I'm Ashton Marcus, and I'm on location at Santa Monica's Morgan Wixon Theater for the opening of Next to Normal.
My name's Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI, 88.9 FM in Irvine, and you're?
Nicole Dominguez. I went to UCI.
Oh, you did?
I'm an anteater. What?
Goes on.
Goes on.
So basically, did you choose this one, or were you the artistic director who chose this play?
No, I got hired to. I applied to direct it, and I got hired to direct it.
So why did you choose to direct something like this? I mean, basically, you could have said no.
I guess. I just love this play. I think it's really moving and interesting, and I like the darker musicals and darker plays, so I got drawn to this one.
Do you know of anyone who has bipolar or who has a mental disability?
I do. I know kind of a lot of people that I know. I'm in the arts. A lot of people are crazy, I guess. But I recently found out that one of my aunts had electric shock therapy. I didn't know that before I started this, and she actually had a stroke from it, and she died. And I didn't know that before I did this. I didn't know that till like 4 weeks into the rehearsal process. So that's kind of a weird coincidence, I guess. Terrible coincidence, but yeah.
So was she on your mind when you were directing this thing, or was it too late that you are accomplished everything?
No, I mean, after I found out, it made me think about it, and I didn't actually block that number, the opening of Act 2, until after I found that out. So that was just really interesting that I knew that, and then I found that out. So that was interesting. Yeah.
Well, does it change the play? I mean, as a viewer, does it change the play now that you know that about your relative?
Yeah, I think so. I just think that mental illness in general should be handled with care. You know what I mean? Not specifically because of my relative, but it just for the health community. You know, people aren't necessarily crazy. It's especially in this play. It's about the situation and how people are treated within the situation. Because I don't think Diana was necessarily crazy. I think they medicated her too soon, and they didn't allow her to grieve properly. And that's kind of the point that we're trying to make with the play.
What was the point you were trying to make with, say, the husband, Dan? Because basically, when one person becomes mentally ill or suffers like that, they're not the only ones suffering. What was your point you were trying to make with Dan?
That Dan was really the caretaker of Diana, but in caring for her, he wasn't taking care of himself. And really the whole family, Dan and Natalie, and what happens when you're so busy caring for someone else that you can't take care of yourself.
You know, I really love the play. I love the people you chose. They're actually very good singers. I noticed that the resumes of the cast. Well, first of all, how did you cast this play, and what were you looking for?
We cast it from Backstage West, and actually the main thing I was looking for was diversity. I wanted to really give a broad look at America. I really wanted an ethnic cast, a multi-ethnic cast. I really want to normalize theater. I wanted, I got a Filipino Henry. My Diana is half Chinese. So I really wanted to bring the color that I see in Los Angeles to the stage. That's really important to me as a theater director.
As for the singing, again, I've noticed that they are very heavily, they're actually very qualified singers. Again, most of the directors I interview, usually they're looking for strong actors. The singing is secondary. What do you think about that?
They walked in with great singing voices, and I was lucky enough to have really great singers who were really open to really diving into the acting portion. So I got to really work with wonderful singers who wanted to be wonderful actors, who really ended up tapping into that part. And sometimes really great singers can really, really perform a song, so they take that acting part of the song and they just apply it to the words, which is really great.
Thank you very much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and you're?
Ann Gessling. I'm the music director.
So basically, were you involved in the casting here?
Yes, I was.
Okay. What were you looking for in the actors?
Well, for me as the music director, I was looking for amazing voices with a lot of versatility, musical comedy and rock, because you've got to do the crossover, and as a bonus, that they could read music.
So could you comment a little bit about the musical style of this program?
Well, it's pop, it's rock, it's a little bit musical comedy, but it's mostly a pop rock. It's very hard on the cast vocally.
Usually when I ask the directors whether you're looking for, say, an actor who can sing or a musician who can act, they always say you gotta go with an actor. You gotta go with an actor. They said, but otherwise, because you gotta care about the character. This isn't a concert. What do you think about that?
I absolutely agree. I'm a director as well, but I just did the music on this show. But I will look at someone. I don't care if they're God's gift to voice, but they can't act their way out of a paper bag. I have no interest. I mean, they have to be able to act.
Yeah, but I look at all of the people you acted. They have a strong music background, like they have the degrees in music or voice or something like that. Are you sure you were looking for actors who can sing?
Yeah, we were looking for actors who could sing. We just got really lucky because it's such a powerful show and it's so popular with the younger generation. They came out in droves. We had choices. It wasn't like we had 3 or 4 of each role that we could have cast that were actors that could sing really well.
Well, I love the music. I love the play also.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much for being on the show.
Okay, thank you.
Ashton Marcus with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And you are?
My name is Matthew Artson. I've been acting since I was 5. Studied at UC San Diego, spent a year in London, which was absolutely amazing, best year of my life. Came out here and have been doing small roles in TV, film, and theater ever since. I played Dr. Fine and Dr. Madden. Dr. Fine is much more about the medication in terms of the psychotherapy. So he's the one who's more than happy to sign off, a release for Valium or Xanax or whatever it takes. They're trying to figure out exactly what the right concoction is to kind of help Diana with her symptoms. Whereas Dr. Madden is much more about trying sort of alternative methods, more about talk therapy, more about ECT, and looking into potentially, hypnosis and then other methods as well.
Did you bring any emotion into this? Because as a doctor, you're probably you have a little professional distance between the character. Did you try to bring any emotion into it?
This is true, yes. No, I brought a lot because actually it's sort of based off of my cousin. She works up in Olympia, Washington, and she is a fantastic therapist and very compassionate, works with other doctors, and so I kind of based it on her because she has much more of a therapeutic approach and much more of a compassionate approach.
So what kind of musical background do you have?
Musically, I've been taking singing classes, from being a kid on and doing musical theater, again, since I was a kid on and studying in college as well.
But you primarily consider yourself an actor, right?
Yes. Actor and singer and voiceover and basically anything I can get my hands on.
So your voiceover, did that help too? I mean, basically, you didn't have to do an accent or anything like that?
I didn't know. It just sort of, I made the first doctor a little more clipped in his verbiage. He sort of speaks like this. It's more of a, the pink pills with the white pills, but not with the other one. The other doctor is much more compassionate and, much more, let's try this. Let's sort of, so it's sort of playing the physicality, and that lends itself to changing the voice and giving them a distinction.
I also noticed that you were almost like a jazz beat. You were counter-sync with other people. When they were talking, you would talk in a different tone?
Yes, that was very difficult to master. Basically, I'm giving a lot of the exposition about, just the different treatments and about the different types of therapy and what loss can actually do to Diana as they're singing, Catch Me, I'm Falling, and I'm trying to space it out in between each of their lines.
So how do you think you guys did?
For an opening night, I think we did fantastic. There are a few little technical glitches, but overall, I think it was fantastic. Compared to last night, too, I felt like everyone was spot on tonight.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you.
My name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And you're?
I'm Amy. I've been doing theater here for a few years, and I've done a lot of shows here and in the area, and I used to do theater up north in Northern California. I play Diana Goodman. Diana Goodman is a woman with bipolar disorder, and the show is basically about how her mental disorder affects her family.
You are actually the lead in this, and I wouldn't even say you're the lead. You're basically the entire play in this thing. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's a small cast. There's 6 of us.
Yes, but the whole story kind of evolved around your character. Is that true?
The story revolves around Diana and how it affects all the other people in her family.
So how did you gear up for this? What kind of emotion did you put in? What kind of research did you do in this?
A lot of personal digging and emotions, and a lot of rehearsal and trying different things.
Are you a trained musician?
I studied music and voice in college.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed the cast around here is very strong musically. Do you think that helped you guys, or was it a problem? I mean, were there any issues behind it? Because usually casts are mostly actors. Their musical talent is actually secondary.
No, it did nothing but help us. Everyone is very strong musically and has studied music and can read music, and which helped. It made vocal rehearsals go quickly, and the show is mostly music, so it helped.
What do you think of your performance
tonight? I think it went well. It was a nice opening.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for being on the show.
Okay. Thank you.
My name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and you're?
I'm Billy Hicks. I graduated from the Boston Conservatory this past year with a Bachelor of Music and Voice Performance, and I moved out here to California in November.
And you played?
I'm Gabe. Gabe is Diana's dead son, who she repeatedly sees throughout the years growing older, and they're close, the two of them. And Diana finds out that Gabe's actually been dead, which she knows, and they have her on medication, and Gabe is kind of her outlet of her emotional needs and what she needs to discover for herself to be able to move on from his death.
How did you tackle a character like that? Because in a sense, you're playing a ghost. Did you go research ghosts or something?
No, I didn't. It was a little tricky. Playing someone who's dead, since everyone sees him differently, it's a challenge if I play him as each individual character sees him, or if he's his own entity. And I kind of tried to make him his own entity. A lot of the times he's portrayed kind of as just an evil person, but really his ultimate goal is to get Diana better and to get her to move on. And same thing with Dan, and he meets the most resistance with Dan. But that's his motivation throughout the show, is to really make sure his mom gets better.
I've noticed your resume that you actually you have a great deal of musical experience.
I do, yeah.
So were you a musician before you were an actor?
I started in 8th grade doing plays, and then I got more into music in high school and doing musicals. And I like the music portion a little more than the acting portion, so I decided to pursue voice performance in college.
So you consider yourself more of a musician than an actor?
Yes, I would, since my formal training is in music, though I do have a passion for acting too.
Yeah, I always ask this of a lot of the directors, especially for musicals. Whenever I find an actor or character who is a very good actor and a very good musician, I always have to find out if they're a singer who can act or a musician who can... if they're a actor who can sing or a musician who can act. Which one are you?
I would call myself a musician who can act. This is a little out of my normal repertoire. I'm a baritone, so I'm singing kind of a high pop tenor role, which pushes my boundaries a little bit. But it's a lot of fun.
I asked the directors the same question. They always say, "I gotta find an actor. I gotta find. I'm not doing a concert. I'm doing a theater piece." What do you think about that?
I think it's an interesting view, especially in current times. I feel a lot of the focus has been on the acting over the singing. But I think with certain shows, the music really drives the story. So I think the music is also a really important aspect. So I think casting someone who's more of a musician in something that's so music driven is a good idea.
But you were a very competent actor. I've seen, again, I looked at you, I just knew your resume, so I knew you were a musician, right? But basically, I would have thought of you as more of an actor than a musician.
Oh, thank you very much. That's a great compliment.
But when did you do the transition? I mean, was there a transition in your life when you were basically a musician and you started getting into acting. When you actually became an actor, basically, what's that transition, that milestone point?
Well, I really started with the acting in early high school. Acting was kind of my main focus. It was what I was more passionate about. And then kind of as I discovered more music and classical music in general, I really shifted towards music. Through college, that was really my primary focus. Until really this past summer, I turned more towards acting again and musical theater.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show.
Great, thank you.
Yes, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And you are?
David Menke. For the last several decades, I've done stage, I've done a little bit of film, a lot of recording, and solo vocalist work. So this is my return to the Morgan Wixon, because I played Frederick and Pirates of Penzance and Tony in West Side back last time I was here. I play Dan. Well, Dan plays the husband of Diana, who is dealing with the bipolar disorder and the loss of her son. And Dan is the one that kind of keeps the whole family together and essentially has to be the stalwart one that keeps believing everything's going to be good, even though in the end, I really shouldn't spoil it, should I? In the end, things are different than he expected.
Okay. So how do you think you guys did?
Very excited about tonight. Every time we do the show, there's always a slightly different electricity. So it never becomes rote, it never becomes automatic. And that's what makes this show so exciting, because it's always very visceral and very real.
I noticed on your bio that you're actually a very spiritual person. Does that help you with your acting?
Always. I believe that my gift is absolutely a blessing from God, and not only do I have to honor Him in it, I also have to allow Him to empower it.
Yeah, no matter how I talk to actors, whether they're atheists or they're Christians or they believe in some kind of higher entity, they always say theater is a very spiritual experience. Do you believe that?
I don't know for me that theater is a spiritual experience. I believe in being spiritually based and relationally connected with God in everything that I do. So theater is just a wonderful opportunity to use that within an expressive form.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you very much.
My name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and you are?
I'm Zoe D'Andreas. I'm 14 years old. I go to Santa Monica High School. I study piano with Sharon Littman, and I'm in all the choir programs. I've done acting here for 7-8 years, and I've mostly been going through the youth program. I play Natalie Goodman, Diana Goodman's daughter. Natalie Goodman is Diana's daughter, and she's going through her whole life. She's been dealing with her mother and her bipolar disorder, and her mother has neglected her most of her life. And
I've actually seen a lot of actors, a lot of roles for teenagers. Usually they're played by people in their 20s and 30s.
Yes, yeah. Usually Natalie is played by a 20-year-old or something. Natalie is supposed to be 16, but yeah, I just came in here and auditioned, and I guess, yeah, I don't know. Usually they are played by older people, but I've had a lot of fun trying to strive to play the older characters and to get that maturity incorporated in it. So
what kind of advice can you give for children actors too? Because you're actually a 14-year-old playing a 16-year-old. Usually that's really not that common.
Yeah, advice. Well, just, I guess what I do is I'm just myself most of the time. I work hard at being mature, but really it just comes with the character. Once I'm in character, once I know who Natalie is, then I am her, no matter how old she is. If I'm the character, then I am that age, you know? So Natalie is a really complex character, and I think she's been mature most of her life because she's had to deal with what's going on with her mother, but once I found her, I found everything that I needed to play this 16-year-old.
I see they're actually very gifted musically. The entire cast is gifted musically. Are you have you always been like that?
Yes, I've taken piano lessons since I was 6, and I am very involved in music at school, at home, here, and I've always felt very connected to music. I've always been a musical person, and being able to show that in this show is amazing. Being able to play the piano in the show is just amazing, and
yeah. Being a kid and actually doing as much work as you've done in theater and all that, do you feel like you're different from everyone else?
A little. I think I'm different from a lot of people in my school. I work very hard at this. I'm here every day till 10:30, and it's just what I love to do. And I think a few people, many people my age, haven't found what they love to do yet. But I know that I've found what I love doing, and who knows what I'll do in the future. But I know right now this is where I belong, here, and just doing the things that I love.
Do you think you're going to be missing out? Because again, a lot of kids your age are they're starting to date right now, and they're out having fun. They're starting to drink. Do you feel like you're missing out?
I don't. I spend a lot of time at school and talking with my friends, but I find that most of my friends actually go here, and most of my really good friends and the friendships that have lasted very long have come from the theater. And I don't think I'm missing out. I think most of the stuff that I'd be missing out on nowadays are what I want to be doing right now anyway. I can find everything that I need in high school here. I can find it with people who are true and loyal. So.
Also, I know a lot of children actors, basically, well, some of them, they do a lot of work, and then afterwards, when they're like 21 or something, they say, "I've had this. I'm never, ever acting again, ever." Why do you think that happens?
Well, I think it wasn't meant for them. I know for me, the thing that I love about acting is it's musical theater that I love. I love the process. I love starting off not knowing a thing about the character that you're playing, and then as it progresses, you just become connected with the character. And every single day this week of Tech Week, I have come home crying, saying I don't know my character, I don't know who I am, what I'm doing. And then the moment that I walked out on stage yesterday at our preview, I just it all connected for me, and that's what I love about musical theater. And I love just that click where I go, I know who I am, and I can be anybody who I want to be out on the stage. And many people who stop doing that in the future, I guess it's not meant for them.
Also know there's some people like the football stars in high school. That's all they are. It's like I'm a football star. But what happens? They break their knee or something like that, and there's what am I now?
Yeah.
All I've ever done was play football. What am I now? Is that what would happen if you can't act? Is that just encompass your entire soul right now?
No, actually, I'm not sure if I'd want to pursue this as a career. I'm thinking about going into medicine. I'm very invested in school. I almost find that doing the theater helps me with my grades, because when I'm working hard here, I say, okay, I need to get my homework done before I get to rehearsal, so I can just go home and fall asleep, And I'm very invested in a lot of things. I like to spread myself out so that if this doesn't work out, or if I go, I'm finished with this, I'm done, I'll have everything else to do, anything else I could possibly want to do. So I work hard in school, and I work hard in piano, and I work hard in singing, and of course this too. So I like to keep my options open.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Ashton Marcus, and you are?
Terrence Jagaraj. I just recently graduated. Well, I studied classical voice at UCLA. Most of my training in performing has been in classical music. I started singing in boy choirs when I was younger. I started studying private voice when I was 14 years old, and then ever since then I've pursued singing. So when I was in 11th grade, I went to Interlochen Arts Academy for 2 years, and then after I finished my study at Interlochen. I went to UCLA, and I finished my undergrad there in vocal performance, and I studied with Vladimir Chernov.
And which character do you play?
Henry. Henry's an interesting character in the show because he's a little disconnected from the rest of the show. A lot of his scenes are just with Natalie, and he is Natalie's love interest.
You have a very strong musical background, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you consider yourself an actor or a musician?
Both.
Both. Which one do you consider yourself an actor who can sing or a musician who can act?
A musician who can act. Because most of my training was in that. I mean, when I was growing up, I also did musical theater as well, in theater. Although I was also studying classic voice growing up, I did do a lot of musical theater and took acting classes and things like that. Coming out of college, I've been taking acting classes and improv classes as well.
Basically a lot of directors that I talk about, they say you just always have to find an actor because we're not doing a concert here. We're doing theater here, so you have to find an actor. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think there is a balance. If you have an actor who can't sing at all, they're still doing a musical, and if it doesn't matter how good they are at acting, if they actually can't sing the score, what do you have then? You might as well be doing a play, a legitimate play. I do understand directors who say that. Of course, acting is very important because the whole thing is story driven, but I mean, I think I've seen a lot of actors who are great actors in musicals that they couldn't really sing the part, and it's a little distracting from their acting. Their acting isn't coming through because they actually just can't sing the part. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Next to Normal will be playing at Santa Monica's Morgan Wixon Theater from March 7th through April 4th. For more information, go to www.morgan-wixon.org or search for AMB Theatre on Facebook. Good night.